I don't know a single couple that has not ever fought in front of their kids. It happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, especially because we have kids, because they will push you to the brink of yourself. And so what I would say to that, first of all, you're in good company. We've all lost our crap at least once. And okay, so I'll just share kind of what we have done, because we're by no means perfect. But I think, and I used to have a lot of fear about this before having kids. So it's very real. Like when you've been around dysfunction, like it's real. Like that is a valid fear and, hesitation. However, what I try to do, or what we have done, is look at this as like, okay, what are the growth opportunities here? Because whether we have children or not, this is likely still, like, there's an issue here whether we have children or not, right?
Yeah.
And so it's that commitment to, even if we have children, we're both committing to grow in these specific areas. Now, it may be, like I grow this way and then he grows this way and then he grows this way and I grow this way. It's never going to be like rare
Together. Yeah.
rarely. At least not in my experience. Maybe I know maybe one or two couples that like they're just aligned like that, but in general, not really. I personally feel like because it allows us to grow some compassion for our partners and some fortitude, and like there's character development that God is developing in me while my husband is being difficult. I was gonna say special, but that's not what I meant. I was like, I meant difficult.
Like
I was like, I probably shouldn't say that. Anyways, I just said it, but we all know and I am too, like I can be difficult too. So it's not just him, right? It's me. So what I'm trying to say is that instead of the fear, I think what your heart needs is to know, is there a commitment to growth? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's really good.
Because I know for me, I have that commitment to growth from my husband. He might be stubborn and it might take him longer than me to get to certain things.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that he's not committed. He's fully committed. It's just that there are other things that inhibit that. And so those blowups are going to happen. My kids, I have trained them to come and talk to us after, like one of them will come and be like, you guys need to stop right now. Like she'll just say, that's too much for me. And I appreciate that, because it does, like, sometimes we just get heated and we forget that like there's little ears, right? Doesn't happen very often, but she will come in and she'll be like, hey, stop it right now. And we're like, okay. And she's our little, she's our youngest. She's our little peacekeeper. She's very much like I was at that age. So I'm very sensitive to, it doesn't take much for her to feel that intensity. And I say, you know what, you're totally right. And, mom and pop were having a moment and we're going to work it out. And then we let them see us work it out. But we also let them express how that impacts them when we do that, because we're not perfect. There's no way to be perfect at this. So I think now in this pre-pregnancy preparation period that you're in, it makes sense that now that hope's on the table again, that it would bring up some of that stuff of like, what do I need? What do I need from my partner? What do I need to feel safe in this, not that you don't feel safe, but in maybe certain aspects of the relationship, right? And, one of the things my husband has said that before, I just don't know how to speak your love language. And I'm like, there are books, there are YouTube channels, there are podcasts, there are things. So that is not easy. And I've just told him, I'm like, I understand, because what would happen is he would feel bad about himself that like he couldn't, it's like, it just doesn't come naturally to me. Well, neither does physical touch. I don't like rubbing your back, or holding, like it does not cross my brainwaves at any point throughout the day. 0 times. 0, negative 100 actually, probably. So that's how little I think about that. So, because it's not my love language. However, words of affirmation, that just like flows out of me. So, and it could mean 0 things to him. He's like, great, thank you for affirming me. And I'm like, what? That was like $100 worth of affirmation. Um, and he just is not that way. So I'm like, okay, so would it be fair then for me to stop holding your hand, stop being intimate with you? Would it be fair for me to withhold that from you because I don't know how?
Right.
No. And so what I need from you is, even if you don't know how, you're willing to learn.
Mhm.
And that
Yeah.
requires me giving you feedback, right?
Yeah.
So that might be, and just pray about when to have the conversation. Maybe you need a couple days to like just work through the emotions. That's totally fine.
Mhm.
Um, but I think for you, getting some of that language around, around like, oh, this is obviously the needs are presenting themselves because I'm allowing myself to hope again.
Mhm.
And that makes perfect sense why it would feel that way. So, does that help at all?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Because it was just like, oh my gosh, we're gonna have like this such a dysfunctional household if I have a kid, and if we're like this, it's just not good, and there's a lot of fear in that, but
No.
um I also know like our hearts are not like completely shut off to each other at all.
Right.
So it's, just we're both stubborn, and we just need to work through that and
Right.
grow in that and allow God to do. I try to sometimes be, I hate to admit it, but I try to be His Holy Spirit. I'm like, you really need to get some help on this area.
Yeah.
And then
Also
I'm
guilty.
like, oh, maybe I should just look at myself in the mirror and try to fix me and not him. And just, surrender that more and more. I try to surrender, and then it's like I'm right there again.
Here, let me help you, God.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not alone on that one. I think I heard a
Mhm.
counselor say one time, she said they've done studies on like child development, or like what makes really healthy families and kids. And she said, you only have to get it right 60% of the time. And I was like, that's such a sigh of relief, you know?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and not to like make excuses or anything, but just to
Mhm.
realize like every parent fails.
Mhm.
Every parent fails. But it's how are we gonna handle our failure? I think same way like church leaders, every church leader fails. But how are we
Mhm.
gonna handle our failure? That determines whether or not we're building something healthy versus something that's unhealthy. And so, God, when he looks at, each of you, myself included, he knew the mistakes that I would make. He knew the deficits I would have. He knew that I would have a lot of rebuilding to have to do as I'm parenting my children. And I went through a long period of being really pissed off at him for not making me perfect before I had my kids. Like, why didn't you tell me this stuff was here first? That would have been nice. And I know I'm saying that funny, but like I was legit mad.
Yeah,
Like,
no. Yeah.
but what that says about you is that there is a willingness, like you've positioned your
Mhm.
heart in a willing position to obey, right?
Mhm.
And to be moldable and to be teachable. I think where the big errors come are when we shut off our heart and we no longer care. And
Mhm.
do you see what I'm saying? That's different.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be something different to be worked through. But I think totally, totally understandable to have those moments, and, to let it kind of be revealing. Okay, what are my needs here? And know that that doesn't mean that you guys won't totally thrive with a family.
Okay.
It just means that like, oh, this is exposing some areas we need to iron out and be committed to growing in. Um, Kids or no kids. So that's my
Yeah.
perspective on that one. Does that help you?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
No.
Because I was just like, oh my gosh, maybe we just shouldn't have kids. Maybe just
Kids
take it off the
are
table. But
they
no,
have an
yeah.
amazing way of healing us
Mhm.
and also developing us. So instead of going down the fear road, I would ask the Holy Spirit, what do you say about my family?
Mhm.
Because if you say that we're called to have kids, then that means that you're going to be with me the whole way through.
Yeah.
developing me and developing my husband, and I can trust you in that. And so,
Mm.
you know what I mean? Because otherwise then I'm parenting from a place of performance, and that never ends well.
Mm.
Don't recommend it. So